The USC Trojans concluded its spring drills with not a spring game, but a televised practice, not even a scrimmage, practice. So we go to the analysis of one Nick Dempsey of Conquest Chronicles to break down practice. And if I sound like Allen Iverson saying that, it was not necessarily intended.
Fair enough. But so there was a lot of question marks coming into this practice, and not a lot of them are going to be answered because so many players were out of action today, dealing with injuries, playing it safe, keeping guys out that probably could have gone if this were an actual game in the fall, but Helton decided to keep them out. But a few guys did sort of pop off the screen there. Marlon Tuipolatu coming in. He's enrolled in January. He's a freshman, and he's kind of filling that role that Stevie T filled. Big guy in the middle of that defensive line, and he showed up today. He looked really good. He's got high expectations coming in as a freshman, but the strength and conditioning staff said he came in January and just blew them away, and he's been doing it ever since. With Kenny Bigelow and others on that line dealing with injuries, him coming in as a freshman and being able to compete right away was a huge deal. He had a fantastic game or practice, and so it'll be very interesting to see where he fits in with this new defensive unit or the defensive front they've got coming in. So that's definitely a guy to keep an eye on. Another couple of guys sticking with the defense in the secondary are stepping up. They've got to figure out how to replace Adoree Jackson's interceptions, his pass breakups, his tackling ability, the guy who's always around the ball, and somebody's got to step in and fill Adoree Jackson's spot. A couple of guys have really stepped up. Jack Jones, the cornerback, could be the guy that has to replace, at least on the depth chart at cornerback, Adoree. He looked very good today, competing with some receivers. Jack Jones, a strong safety, another guy who came in. He's really finding his role in the secondary. Those two guys really popped off the screen today for me. One of the key things is that honestly, their base defense is really their specialty package, which is the nickel, because I believe 60-ish% of their plays on defense last season were out of the nickel package. So defensive backs stepping up are going to be critical for this team to succeed, and they're trying to replace a great one in Adoree Jackson. So look for Jack Jones, Chris Hawkins, Jamal Cook, who was not really in action today, but he has been stepping up in practice too. So there's a whole new crop of guys coming in the secondary that I'm pretty excited about. Now the receivers, switching to the other side of the ball, someone's got to replace Juju Smith-Schuster, and that's not easy to do. Darius Rogers as well, and several of the receivers were injured today. But Tyler Vaughn's a young guy coming up. He looked great today. He had some amazing plays. He could have a breakout season. It's going to be tough for him to, find his spot because they're loaded with talent at that position. But he took advantages of his opportunities for sure. The other thing I'm excited about is the running back rotation is going to be real good. It's not just Rojo back there. There's several guys that looked really strong today, even though the defensive line played pretty well and the offensive line is still struggling with all their injuries and replacements. But the running back rotation really got to go in today. That's going to be exciting to see. Clay Helton absolutely wants to run the ball and run it well. And so seeing that really kind of gives you a lot of excitement. For me, watching guys like Rojo dominate today, or the running backs in general dominate today, gives me just as much excitement as Darnold does, because they've got a great unit. They're going to want to run the ball. And so that's exciting. And finally, the quarterbacks, There was a good rotation. A lot of guys, Fink and Sears, both saw some playing time as well. And when you're rotating quarterbacks like that from drill to drill, nobody really gets into any rhythm. So you don't want to take too much away from the quarterback statistics. But overall, I think Darnold looked fine. He had some offensive line struggles to deal with, and he has a surging USC defense right now. But I think he looked fine. His biggest problem, I think, this year is just going to be living up to the sky-high expectations when, he's already the Heisman favorite in, the spring. It's going to be very difficult for him to surpass that. But he overcame some obstacles, and he looked sharp. And so I think this team's really starting to look good, but right now the injuries and the question marks of who steps up, who becomes the main guy at a lot of units, I don't think were particularly answered today, but it was a good way to end spring ball, and I think it was pretty impressive.